I'd like to call the Chamber City Council meeting back to order, please. We're going to go right to 10C, which is adopt a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a contract with NCE to provide technical design assistance for the 2014-15 street rehabilitation project in an amount not to exceed $73,600.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council, Jimmy Tan with the Public Services Department. The city's capital improvement program includes the street rehabilitation program to repair and perform preventive maintenances to local, collector, and arterial streets. In April of this year, the city completed the pavement condition survey with funding assistance from Metropolitan Transportation Commission. MTC hired a consulting firm, JG3, to assess the street conditions and update the pavement condition index, otherwise known as PCI, in the Street Saver pavement management software. JG3 also evaluated various budget scenarios to determine the funding required to increase the overall city's street PCI network. The result of the study was presented to the Surface Infrastructure Subcommittee on June 30th of this year. This project, the 2014-2015 street rehab project, is a project within the street rehabilitation program to improve the street conditions. The streets for the projects were derived from the draft 5-year street resurfacing schedule, which was previously discussed with the Surface Infrastructure Subcommittee and currently posted on the city's website. Most of the streets identified within the 2014 and 2015 lists are included in the project. For design, the project requires technical design assistance from a consulting firm to evaluate the pavement condition information that was completed by JG3 and perform assessment of the existing pavement conditions and provide recommendations on cost-effective treatments for the pavements. The city requested a proposal from NCE, which is formerly known as Nichols Consulting Engineers, to assist with providing the technical design assistance. NCE is a qualified consulting firm that specializes in pavement design and has extensive experience with the city's pavement network through their previous work in updating the city's pavement management system in 2011. NCE also has provided the city with similar technical design assistance in 2012 street resurfacing program. The scope of services for NCE is to assist with the design work. The scope includes pavement deflection testing to evaluate the structural capacity of the existing pavement section, pavement condition surveys, and corings to refine the appropriate pavement rehab treatments, and reviewing the pavement core data that's been collected on the field, and development pavement design recommendations report for these streets identified. The report will also evaluate the cost-effective rehab treatments such as cold-in-place recycling and full depth recommendation for street sections. Staff will use the recommendations from NCE and put together a design, plans and specifications and cost estimates. The design is anticipated to be completed in April 2015 and awarding construction contract in June for summer construction. Currently, there is an available amount of $742,082 from 2013 and 14 CIP, which will be carried over into the proposed 2014-15 CIP and used for NCE and staff design support. The reason for this is that the $800,000 allocated from the program last year was not used to rehabilitate any of the streets. Staff is requesting an additional appropriation of $500,000 from Measure A and $300,000 from gas tax for a total of $542,082 to fund the construction phase. Therefore, staff is recommending to adopt a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a contract with NCE to provide technical design assistance for this project in an amount not to exceed $73,600.
Any questions of staff?
Through the chair.
Ken?
I was throwing my voice.
Right, Michael.
Thank you. I had a few comments just regarding. Well, initially I had questions about why we're hiring consultants to look at work that consultants had done, and it just seemed like a whole lot of consultants, and we have a pretty limited streets budget, and just spending all this time doing the studies and spending all the money on the consultants and not actually fixing any streets just didn't sound like we were making very good progress. I also noticed that out of the last 4 street segments that were on the schedule, only 2 of them got done, and 2 of them are getting carried over, right? Am I reading that correctly? So I just had to ask, I mean, isn't there something we can do to be a little more efficient? Couldn't we have started this assessment sooner rather than waiting and, time it with the end, with the start of the summertime construction season? Couldn't we've done some of that core analysis and, starting to figure out what's underneath there, what kind of thing we need to do sooner rather than wait and spend, I think, several months since that initial study was done. So it's taking a long time. The streets are, the sewers, nobody complains about the sewers until they overflow, but the streets, people see them every day and they have to drive on them every day, and it tends to be, the topic that comes up most often when we talk with residents, that, their streets are torn up and they want to know when they're going to get fixed. So I did look on the website and I saw that we have the 5-year plan, and it looks like we've identified 4 street segments that are on there. But I was hoping that we could also make available to the residents the whole list of all the streets so they can see where their particular street ranks, and they can maybe make some kind of a reasonable assessment about when their street might actually be on the schedule, and maybe look at some of the other streets that are worse off than theirs, and understand why we need to prioritize the way we do. So somewhere in there was a question, just, what can we do to compress the schedule? Is there anything we can do to make this happen faster?
Correct. Just going back to your part regarding the hiring of the consulting firms, there are 2 consulting firms that were part of this project. The JG3 was hired by MTC with grant funding, so the city wasn't, didn't put too much funds into it. It was part of the Pavement Management Technical Assistance Program, which is called PTAP, which it's granted to the city jurisdictions every 2 years. So, we had a small share of the cost that went into for JG3 to perform the pavement survey work. For NCE, it's a separate consulting contract, which the city is requiring these technical design assistants to provide us the information for these pavement deflection testing information and pavement coring, so that we can determine the most feasible rehab alternative for these street sections. In regards to the schedule, it was, the survey was completed in April of 2015, and I guess during the summer, by designing these street sections, it would have taken, several more months to design, and it would have gone into the winter months. So, construction of the street sections during the winter is not warranted. So now we're looking ahead to make sure that these streets that are upcoming in the future will be constructed during the summertime.
If I may add, this pavement management is like a marriage of art and science. You have pavements that are deteriorating, but you also have to make sure that you spend the money at the right time for each pavement section in order to get the most out of it. If you look at the list of city streets, and each one of them has a pavement condition index associated with it, depending on where you're going to spend your money, you're going to get a different result. Sometimes you spend your money on pavement that is not as deteriorated as the next street over. So if you're looking as a resident, looking at it and say, okay, my street is, let's say, PCI of 50, and the next street is PCI of 40. So a PCI of 40 is in worse condition. However, the analysis may show that it's better if you spend a little money on PCI of 50 rather than put a lot of money on PCI of 40. Because a PCI of 50, if you don't spend the money, it will deteriorate faster and you will lose the money in the long term. So it's a form of art, and at every point in time, it's going to change. That's why you have to really know exactly what condition you are in at the time when you want to spend your money to see how far this small amount of money that you have every year could extend the life of the overall condition of your pavements throughout the city.
If I could just add an additional comment, and that is that staff has spent a great deal of time. This is a very, as the acting director has indicated, not a straightforward discussion. It really involves art, science, policy, and community perception. And funding. We are actively in the process of evaluating a variety of scenarios that would provide options to the City Council to address the bigger picture perspective of the city's, not something to brag about, overall condition index citywide. And believe that this topic actually warrants a study session all by itself, and are hoping to be able to schedule that for shortly after the first of the year. So this is an important, complicated topic, and they certainly, I'm not sure the staff adequately answered the question about your specific question about could we have done this faster, and I'll ask them to do that. What I would say is that it would be in the best interests of getting something done to move forward at the latest now, and then allow us the opportunity to come back to you and give you a much more thoughtful and comprehensive presentation.
Oh, one final thought. I know with the underground infrastructure, there's been a lot of emphasis in doing the GIS mapping and creating databases of known trouble spots and everything. Are we doing anything similar with streets? And is there an opportunity there to sort of learn a little bit more about that process, maybe becoming more proactive and being able to do more of this type of analysis in-house rather than having to bring in consultants for it?
Currently, the staff does not have the expertise to do the analysis in Street Saver, but as they're learning through the consulting firm, I think eventually we're going to get away from using consultants and doing the analysis ourselves. And because the staff has already gone through a training for the Street Saver, the software program, in October, so she's got some experience with that now. So I think hopefully in the future we do not have to use the consulting firms.
Okay, thank you. And regarding just the database of trouble spots, are you guys doing that for streets?
Yes.
You are. Okay, thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I just wanted to add on. I appreciate what my colleague is asking, and I always need to be reminded when was the last time the subcommittee met, and I guess it was in June. I'm frustrated also because I know, being on the subcommittee, I know the condition of the streets, and I know that it's a constant battle to keep up. All we can do is keep up. It's not realistic financially for us, to improve all our streets, in the near future. We have to just keep up and accept, a certain index, a certain level. But it's frustrating on how slow it takes. It's frustrating that there are streets out there that appear to be in worse condition than the ones that are getting resurfaced. And so, if I'm going to be on the subcommittee, or if we're going to, really give our community an idea of, that we're making some headway in repairing their streets, then yes, maybe we do need a study session. We need to have a better idea of what to expect and how this program's going. I don't need to be the guy testing the surfaces or anything, but I need to have a better idea, and maybe a field trip, and maybe something that's a little more hands-on as to understanding what it's about. Because I do get it as far as the consultant's concerned. I do understand what Ray said as far as how complicated it is to take something that needs total repaving versus a slurry seal, and how much those costs are, and how much those costs vary day to day. So looking forward to it.
Okay. Rico?
Through the chair. Ken and my colleague had said that we're just trying to keep up, and I would say that, but we're falling behind. And so we're not having enough monies or resources that are being put into the streets to bring them up to where they should be. New resident comes into Euclid, first thing when I introduce myself is they want to introduce me to their street, which has a rating of 29, which they said, as a new resident, that their tire was slashed because of that. Welcome to San Bruno. So, this is something that I think for 215 we need to come up with some outside-the-box thoughts on how we're going to increase funding, which is only limited, of course. That's why I made a suggestion, hopefully at the CIP, that we're going to find out how much monies from the trust may be coming to the fund, when I say back to the city for reimbursement for the staff hours, and to have that put off to the side to possibly consider that. It's only going to be a shot in the arm one time, but we need to start doing some things, and we need to think outside the box. And it is hard to try to tell a resident when they see that street again. I understand the theory of the science and the art and all of that. I know when I've asked, and I've asked a couple times now, is when we start to have streets brought before us, that we also show when the last time that street was paved, slurried or whatever the words are, so that we do have a comparison. Because I'm asked that question, and to me, in the last 4 years, it was done. And maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. But I'd like to have that placed when we get this information so we have a clear understanding. Thank you.
Anyone else? We're asking for a resolution on this item.
I'll introduce resolution.
Councilmember O'Connell.
Aye.
Councilmember Salazar.
Aye.
Councilmember Ibarra.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Medina.
Aye.
Mayor Ruane.
Aye.